Okay, in this session, I will talk about PowerShell comments. Okay, comments. When I say comments, see whenever you go and look at a script or a particular code that has been written by the developer or the administrator or the DevOps team, you look for a little more additional details, right? When it was written and what is the purpose of the script or the code, and you want to understand, you want to get some help in that particular file, right? And similarly, if you are writing a code or if you're writing a script, if you want to help others in understanding the script or the code better, you have to use the comment. Okay, so there are two different way of commenting things in the script or the code. The first type is called the single line comment, and the second one is called the multi-line comment. Okay, we'll talk about this in details on how this particular comment will can be used in PowerShell and what are the use cases. We'll also see some examples. We'll see around 10 examples, and also we'll talk about the best practices of using the comments. Okay, so let's dive into the topic. Okay, so PowerShell is one kind of help to explain the code. Okay, that is the number one thing. And you can also add a command to any section of the PowerShell script, like a command. Okay, there are different ways on how you can add it. So this is mainly for the scripter or the new joiner to understand the code or understand the script with like a help example. See, when you go and want to understand the help in a particular service or a particular command, so you go and type help space get-service or get-process, right? See what it provides when you go and execute the help command. It provides you some details around how to use that particular command and what is the synopsis, what exactly this command is going to help you with, and what is the syntax and some examples, description, and some kind of links to go and refer more about that. So similarly, if you are writing some script or you are defining your own function, or if you're writing a code, then you have to have a better comment section that explains more about your script or code. Okay, so this particular set of examples are going to help you with that. So the first option, when you want to comment out a particular a line of code or a line of script, okay, then we use something called single line comment. So they call it as inline comment. Okay, we go and comment the particular line or the particular set of lines using single line comment. So how do we do that? We use the hash symbol to comment out that particular line. So you can either add it at the beginning of each line, or you can add it at the end of the line as well. But the most of the best practice, it should be at the beginning of the line. See, for example, if you talk about single line comment, it starts with hash here, right? So if you are trying to get rename a particular item or a file, or so anything in PowerShell is an item, right? Either a file or folder or anything is considered as an item. So if you want to call out what exactly this particular line is going to do, you can provide that particular comment at the end of the line. So anything after the hash symbol will be ignored. Okay, so PowerShell will not consider anything after the hash symbol. So that's the thing. Okay, so let me see, I'll just copy this. So this is going to get the details of the child items within the C drive, right? So if and I go and execute that, so let me clear the screen. Okay, I'll just copy this line item here. And if you look at the color code, PowerShell automatically considers the anything after the hash symbol as a comment. So it will not go and include that in the execution, or it will not consider that. See, even though I selected the entire line and executed it, it took the get child item and it listed what are the different folders and files with their additional details or properties has been returned. Okay, so you can add it at the end of the line, or you can also use it at the beginning of the line. For example, if you are defining a function, or if you want to clearly call out what exactly you are going to do, you can at the beginning of the function, you can just say this particular function or the script is going to get some data from your storage or your system and so on. Okay, you can also use it like this example. And the third option, you can also use if you want to comment out a particular line in your function or in your particular for loop or in your code, you can comment it out. See, if I go and just for an example, I'm copying and executing it. So if I add anything after the hash symbol, it will not be considered. See, let me go and try and execute this. See, it has just typed the command, but no output. It did not do any action because all the command is after the hash symbol. So anything after the hash symbol in the line will be ignored. So this is what we call it as single line comment. Okay. So if you look at here, I'll just execute this particular code. So there are people who write code in this way also. There is no hard and fast rule that you should not do like this. But if you look at the code here in this particular for loop, what they have done, they have taken up um, the liberty to go and define the comments in each of the line. So this is the entire set of code, right? So they have got one second. So they've got multiple lines of code. They've got a for loop defined here. So what they have done, they have mentioned that this particular code has got multiple line items, and for each of the line item they have defined some additional details. So this code is used for printing the even numbers from 1 to 10, and even in some cases they have mentioned this particular block, if block, has a condition that checks whether the value of the variable is equal to 0 and then execute it. And similarly they are also checking whether the script is whether the number is divisible by 2. If yes, then it will print out or it will not print. Okay, let's try and execute this particular example. Okay, you can see that there are two blocks within the script. Okay, just a second. Let me execute this one. So the example output that we are looking at, so it should display like 2, 4, 6, and 8 and 10. So the example that I'm referring here, even within the script or within the code, you can go and comment out that particular line and add what exactly this line is doing. Okay, so this is one example that you can do, and let's move on to the multi-line comment. Okay, so multi-line comment, it starts with the less than symbol followed by hash, and then it completes with hash and then the greater than symbol. Okay, if you are writing a particular entire code to do some activity, for example, in this example, we are trying to test the server connectivity and using the Windows Remote Management, WinRM. So this entire line will be commented out. Okay, so multi-line comment or the block comment, they call it as block comment. So it is, you can type a lot of things here, and even the help system for your function or your code can be written using the multi-line comment. So multi-line comment, it starts with less than symbol followed by hash, and then it completes by hash and greater than symbol. Okay, so if you look at the example below, okay, so multi-line commands. So see, if you want to exclude a particular for loop or a while loop, you can use this particular less than symbol followed by hash, and then you can complete that particular hash and less than symbol. See, even there is one more important information. If you use a single hash here, definitely it will exclude the complete block, or it will not execute this complete block because you have a hash at the beginning of the block. But there are some additional errors you might get. So in order to avoid this, I think in PowerShell version, until PowerShell version 2, we used to have the way of writing like this. Okay, we used to go and add hash in front of every line. So that will be very tedious, and it will not work out, right? Or I mean, it will work out, but then it's not easier. So this way of writing the multi-line comment or the block comment is much easier, and this is the way you have to do it right now. Okay, so the whole code or the few lines of code can be commented. Even nowadays we are writing the help system using the multi-line comment. So let me just go and show you some example here. So in general, okay, if you want to write a help system for your code or your function, so there are some examples that you can follow, or some best practice you can follow. So all your see, you can have the help system written in example like this. You can have a synopsis, you can have a description, you can have an example. See, any documents that you go and write, it will have some kind of structure to it, right? So you can have the parameter, you can have the inputs, output, and that is how even Microsoft themselves have written the help system, right? So if you look at the help system here, so we were talking about the help system for get process a while back, or get service. So if you look at here, they have also written the help system similar to how I am explaining. What is the name of the function? What is the synopsis? What kind of syntax it supports? What are the examples? So similarly, when you go and write a function or a code, you can have these sections in your document. So these are some examples or guidelines from Microsoft, but then you don't have to follow all these things mandatory. But again, there is also no hard and fast rule on how to write it. You can have the parameter above and then examples at the last. You can have the input output at the beginning. You can have these things like ordered in any ways, so it will support it. So just for an example, I'll show you how to have a similar function written. So this is example of how to go and check the uh, remote port on a system. So I'm writing a function. So this should have a very meaningful name. So we are testing the remote port on a group of system. And if you look at here on the synopsis, I'm telling this function is to test the remote port. And in the description, I'm saying what are the remote computers it is going to check, and some couple of examples. And the parameter will be the computer name, and the port will be the another parameter that we are using here. So the input will be the list of computer names, and the output will be the answer, whether the remote port is responding true or false. Okay, so this way you can this is the only line that you are going to execute, but then you have a very detailed information on what exactly that particular line of command, a line of code, or a line of script is going to perform. Okay, so this way your script will look very meaningful, and this is the way we have to generally write it. So that's the way we can help others to understand the code. For any programmer, see, not just PowerShell, right? Any programming language or any scripting language you take, you have to give the commands in as a documentation, right? Just like any other programming or scripting language, you can give the commands in PowerShell for documentation purpose, and it can act as a help system for others who are going to use that particular code. Okay, so let me show you one more example here. See, there is also one more important practice that you can do. Okay, when you go and write the command or write the code or script, so I have just given it, right? See, for example, when was the last update that I made, and who wrote the script, and then when it was executed, and then which operating system supports it, or which PowerShell version it supports it, and what is the version number for this particular PowerShell script or code. So that way, your script is very meaningful, and it has got detailed information. Okay, so let me go and show you one more examples on how you can write the help system. See, this function is going to get the disk related information from multiple machine. So what is the synopsis? It is to get the disk details from multiple systems. So what is the description? It is going to get the disk allocation from the servers. And you can also give one example or two examples or multiple examples as you want, and you can give the inputs, what it is going to fetch, and the output, and some kind of general nodes and component. See, this is one example that I was referring to. Okay, and let me show you a few more examples before we get into the best practices. So multiple line code, it starts with less than symbol and hash, and then it ends with hash and the greater than symbol at the end of the last line. So single line commands, it just has only the hash, but then the multi-line command, it starts with the symbol, and then it ends with a combination of hash and greater than symbol. Okay, it can be 10 lines or 20 lines or whatever lines you want to do it, you can have it executed. Okay, so let me show it. See, I hope you guys are able to follow me. See, for example, when I say get-date, see, this is going to execute and provide me the report answer, right? So if I add any hash here, this is what we call it as single line comment, right? Even though the command got executed, it did not provide any result. The reason is anything after the hash will be ignored in PowerShell. Okay, and if you want to have multiple lines of code in PowerShell commented, so you have to use this way, the less than symbol followed by hash, and I can just show you an example. Okay, so you have multiple lines of code, and at the beginning of the line, you will have the hash followed by less than symbol, and then you can give hash followed by greater than symbol. The entire block will be ignored. So this is what we call it as comment block. Even you can select the entire block and delete it. Okay, this is called multi-line comment, and multi-line comment are useful in mentioning the details, help system, and it will also give you a kind of detailed information like who is the author, what is the script version, where exactly the script is stored, the latest version of the script, and then you can also give the actual function or the code at the very beginning. I mean, at the very end. So you can see that I've written the code here. I want to get the list of servers in the array or in the file, and I'm trying to stop the print spoiler service or the spoiler service and getting the output. And you can also clearly write some more help system on who is the author, when it was written, and so on. Okay, so this is what we generally do. You can also use the shortcut Alt plus Shift plus A. If you type this in Visual Studio Code, it will enable a multi-line comment. So there is a shortcut to that as well. And yeah, so these are the two different things on how you can do a comment. In summary, there are two ways of commenting in PowerShell. One is called single line comment. You can use the hash symbol at even at the beginning of the line or at the end of the line. So this is what is going to comment out that particular line. Okay. Similarly, you can use a multi-line comment, less than symbol, hash followed by the comments, and then hash followed by the greater than symbol. So this is the multi-line comment. Okay, you need not have anything, it can be any text here. Okay, so these are the two different ways of commenting. So let's talk about some best practices while you do the commenting. Okay, so never use line number in the comment, because I've seen people adding line number in the help system, and when they write it, definitely like they might think that this code is never going to change or whatever. But if it is really true statement, then you can add line numbers that this line is for this particular um, uh, function, or this is what is going to do, and you can have it like that. But then sometimes if someone changes the code, then people will struggle to understand the numbering, and it will convey a different meaning. And also, do not add comments at the end of the script in general. The reason is like people generally skip anything that is written within the code or at the end of the line. So always try and add at the top of the code. Even don't add the comments at the end of the line, as well as don't add the comment at the end of the script. People generally read the script or the code from top to bottom. If they have something at the end, they might just open it and then they might skip it, right? So avoid comments if not needed. See, there might be straightforward code or script that you have written, and if you're adding too many lines, it's simply a waste of time, and also it's not going to add any additional value. So you are just making the code a longer one, and people will feel it's conveying a lot of unwanted things. So if the code or the script is self-explanatory, you don't have to do any commands, or you don't have to add any additional help system there. So definitely command-based help for functions and scripts are mandatory, or it's a good practice to do. So as I told you, add as much as information if it is a complex code or if it is a complex script. Add all the details that can help the new joiner or help the other team members to understand how they can execute the syntax, or how they can execute the function or the code, or you can just give as much as information for better understanding. Okay, so these are the 5 best practices that you can follow when you use the commands in your PowerShell script. So there are 2 type of commands: single line comment, which is hash; multi-line commands, which is inside the block. Single line comment is also known as inline comment. Multi-line commands are also called as block comment. Okay, thank you for listening.